William James is often called the father of American pragmatism. He wasn't the first. Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote the ideas that made pragmatism possible decades earlier, in essays most people now only remember as motivational quotes. Understanding what Emerson actually argued changes how nearly every American philosopher after him should be read. Ralph Waldo Emerson was born in Boston in 1803. His father, a Unitarian minister, died when Emerson was 8, leaving the family in poverty. Emerson followed his father into the ministry, eventually becoming pastor of Boston's Second Church. In 1829, he married Ellen Tucker. 16 months later, she died of tuberculosis. The grief pushed Emerson to question the institution his entire life had been built around, not his faith itself, but the rituals the church demanded he perform without genuinely believing in their necessity. In 1832, he resigned his pulpit. He broke publicly with the church over his doubts about the ritual of communion, choosing his own reasoning over inherited doctrine. That single choice, trusting direct personal conviction over institutional authority, became the seed of everything he wrote afterward. After resigning, Emerson traveled to Europe. He met Samuel Taylor Coleridge, heard William Wordsworth read his own poetry aloud, and formed a lifelong friendship with the Scottish essayist Thomas Carlyle. He returned to New England and settled in Concord, Massachusetts, and spent the next several years developing an idea that answered to no church at all, that spiritual truth could be found directly, through nature and personal intuition, without scripture or clergy standing in between. In 1836, he published that idea anonymously as Nature. It became the foundation of transcendentalism, the belief that individual intuition, not institutional teaching, is the real path to truth. In 1837, Emerson delivered a lecture at Harvard titled, "The American Scholar." His argument was direct. American thinkers had spent too long imitating European tradition instead of trusting their own direct experience and judgment. An American mind didn't need European permission to think an original thought. Oliver Wendell Holmes Sr. later called it America's intellectual declaration of independence, the moment American thought was told, plainly, to stop looking across the ocean for approval. In 1841, Emerson published essays, including the piece that would become his most influential, Self-Reliance. Its argument was simple and uncomfortable: conformity is a form of self-betrayal. Trusting your own honest instinct, even against the weight of the crowd, is the only path to genuine judgment. Society, Emerson wrote, is in conspiracy against the individuality of every one of its members. Self-reliance would later end up printed on posters and greeting cards, stripped of what it actually demanded. In its original form, it wasn't comfort. It was a starting point almost every major American thinker afterward would have to answer to, directly or indirectly. Emerson's influence didn't stay contained to his own essays. In January 1842, the same month his own young son died of scarlet fever, Emerson agreed to become godfather to a newborn boy. That boy was William James. Decades later, James and the American philosophers who followed him built directly on ideas Emerson had already put down: judge a truth by what it does in a life, not by what authority declares it to be. Emerson gave American philosophy its first real instinct: trust experience over doctrine. He didn't get to see what that instinct would become. Next time, we're covering his own godson, William James, and the philosophy of pragmatism he built directly on top of it.